And now, let me say a few words about our next speaker, Victor Rijkaart. Victor is leading the efforts towards establishments of the flying vision movements. Today, he will tell more about creating an ecosystem where technology is developed to make aviation more sustainable. So please help me welcome to the stage Victor Rijkaart.
Dankjewel. So, good afternoon everybody. Absolutely delighted to be here. My name is Victor Rijkaart, as was said. Thank you, Maatje. And I'm here to talk to you about collaboration. And before my colleagues will deep dive into technology, and technology is needed towards fueling the future for aviation, collaboration is an important topic. And we do that by presenting flying vision. Does this work? It does indeed. Flying vision, as it says, collectively igniting radical change to achieve sustainable aviation. So you might wonder, this topic of course is relevant, sustainable aviation, because the fuel of the future for aviation is part of that. But why am I here at this symposium? So I think there will be a topic in there, a theme that connects very well with the topic of propulsion of aircraft. And let me do that by trying a bit of interactivity with you all. Brave step. All right, you see an aircraft on the screen, A380. It was a good idea at the time. A lot of people, a lot of engines, long range. It came into service 2006. Let me show a bit of hands to say, who thought that the development of this aircraft was 5 years? Raise your hand for 5 years. Nobody then. Who thought it was actually, well, 10 years then, development of this aircraft, 10 years. First few hands, right, thank you very much, 2% of the room. All right then, take it one step further. Who thinks that the development of this aircraft took 15 years? 15 years. Haha, I think we have now 3/4 involved. Well, let me inform you by saying that first studies for what was then called A3XX started in '88, so it took 18 years to develop this aircraft. And everybody knows by the time it hit the market, the new engines that made two-engine flights much more efficient were available. So that's what happened to the 380. Then, next one then, very efficient aircraft from our European friends at Airbus, A350, came into service 2015. So we are now one decade further. So much more digital in design, I would say. Raise your hands again. Who thinks that this aircraft was developed in 5 years? So I spoiled it, yeah? Let's do it like this then. Indeed, it was 11 years. So in, say, 10 years' time, we were able to speed up development of aircraft with 10 years. But still, it takes around a decade to launch it. And then combine that with KLM. How long do we use an aircraft platform? I think 20 years, something like that. So, but let's say we want to be sustainable or climate neutral with aviation in 2050. How many platforms time do we have to get there? Well, maybe 2, if we're lucky. So what is the theme that comes forward? I think it's acceleration. And that is what Flying Vision is all about. It is a game-changing collaboration that we're working on that develops and accelerates both technological innovation as well as social change, because how we fly, how we travel, how we go from A to B is part of this equation. Why do we need to do that? Well, we need to keep the world accessible and connected in a sustainable way. Flying is really something that's done a lot of good for the world, a lot of well-being. To be able to visit new cultures, people on the other side of the globe is a great thing. So it is for everybody who is committed to a sustainable planet, and so hence my point I just made, it needs to start yesterday. Because in aviation, 2050 is really just around the corner. And we all know we do have a climate crisis going on, and the theme of this symposium is clear. We need to do stuff, we need to develop technologies to overcome the challenges to become sustainable. However, there's also a lot to be won in how we actually work together as an industry. And that's why I would like to point out that within Flying Vision we aim to do things a bit differently. Okay, let's explain. We have 3 topics there. There's co-creation. Co-creation is a bit of a theme, of course, but it also explains that if you want to have focus in what you develop, it helps enormously to bring your end user into the development of your platform. So have an airline involved in your fundamental research. That will give focus and acceleration of your development. Second, holistic approach. I think everybody here will agree there is no silver bullet to make aviation sustainable. It's a very complicated matter. It's a system we need to change, not only about aircraft platforms, but also how we give them speed, so propulsion, how we fuel them, but also how we travel, how we turn them around, how we do maintenance. So a holistic approach is needed, plus a human-centered design. Technology is great, and believe me, I graduated at this fantastic facility here in, last century. But technology can only play an important role if it is embraced and used. So not only in the lab, not only when you test it, but also by those who travel. Are we willing to sit in a flying wing rather than a tube and wings? That's an important question, and we need to deal with that. We want to deal with that within Flying Vision. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. To become sustainable, let's stop flying. Right? Yeah, that should be, well, I think stop flying is not the answer, and I think we all agree. Obviously, we need to rethink if flying is the answer for every travel that we have in front of us. When we go to Brussels, or to Hamburg, or to Paris, is the aircraft the modality of choice? Well, as soon as we are able to have an electric aircraft to do that, I think yes, but up till that time, the train is a perfectly good way to go there. But stop flying is not an option. Why is that? Because at the moment, I don't know if you realize, but at the moment only 20% of those living on Earth have access to flying. And more people will get there to the point that they want to have this pleasure of flying and go visit people and cultures in other countries. So flying will grow, aviation will grow, and that's why we need to address that. And I think that the symposium of today will contribute to that. It is a bold mission to become climate neutral or as sustainable as possible, and to say that out loud in a conservative. Are we conservative as an industry? That's maybe a bit in this industry. And we need to challenge, therefore, the establishment, including ourselves. So who are we then, ourselves? At the moment, we are working with a couple of partners to make Flying Vision happen. As I said, initiated by TU Delft, we want to make a chain of partners. We want to work together with the chain of partners from fundamental design here at TU Delft, with our colleagues from NLR to applied research, then have OEMs, then we have Airbus on board that deliver aircraft to major airlines like KLM that need to turn them around, clean, taxi, do maintenance at airports. And together, I think we can bring all the knowledge together and give focus on development and therefore accelerate. And that is the whole name of the game. And as an example, I thought I'd throw this in. Because is it impossible to accelerate? I don't think so. Because we can see it. If you go to the Faculty of Luchtvaart en Ruimtevaarttechniek, Aerospace Engineering, you will see that a group of people from Aero Delft, students, they are actually capable of developing a flying two-seater in, well, we are now busy, like 1.5 years, I think. Huh, Gerben? Great achievements, and they are moving so fast, and I think it's a really good example and also an inspiration for us as an industry to look at them and see what they do to actually create a two-seater aircraft, hydrogen-propelled. Moving forward, sustainable aviation is not something that you can address as a whole. You need to divide it into different parts. And we have chosen to start with 4 different themes. The first theme being the ultra-efficient aircraft, so a low energy budget for aircraft. Secondly, we need to think of and implement green energy to make our aircraft move, and that's why the topic of today's symposium is so well chosen. Then we need to involve the entire customer journey. We need to rethink how we fly, how we go from A to B. And last but not least, and that is not a technical subject per se, but it's something I would like to address nonetheless, the matter of talent. Talent is hugely important, not only because we need to attract new young people that study and work on technological items, but also the talent that is currently working with our partners, for example. Engineers with KLM, engineers at Schiphol Airport that need to be informed about the state of the art. What does it mean to refuel an aircraft on hydrogen? How do we deal with electrical aircraft when they arrive? So talent, attracting the right people, keeping them in our aircraft industry, and having them contribute to our shared challenge, that is, I think, a major topic. Here you can see them again. So indeed, there's aircraft, there's operations, the customer journey, and I'll put it there quite provocatively, also alternatives. As in, we need to rethink what is the place of aviation in our travels. Then, why are we here today? And I am so keen on going back to sitting there and listening to the colleagues that will present here today. It's about energy, the energy that makes an aircraft go from A to B. And the challenge is enormous, but it's also, you can capture it in one slide. One, the energy budget of an aircraft must go down. The amount of energy needed to go from A to B needs to be reduced. And that has been done over the last years impressively. I think if you compare aircraft from 20 years ago to now, you will see that it's a double-digit fuel efficiency that they've achieved. But I think we can move forward still. We've been flying tubes and wings for over 60 years now. Maybe the next step for aviation looks a bit what you see behind me now. And second of all, the energy after reduction needs to be converted from fossil fuels to green fuels. Could be hydrogen, electric for some ranges, and the synthetic aircraft fuels could be in the equation as well. It is in one slide, and I would love to hear more about that today, about these challenging topics. So what will Flying Vision do as soon as we are live? We will organize think tanks. We will bring together experts from all over to work with us and to discover what is the challenge for the next step in aviation. We will make roadmaps to identify gaps and opportunities, because everybody knows, everybody here in the room, that a lot of effort is already in making aviation more sustainable. There's lots of collaboration between 2 parties, 3 parties, lots of very specific innovations going on. If we bring that all together, we can look, all right, what is going on now, and what is still needed to bridge that gap. And that is what we do within the roadmaps. We will bring people together and facilitate a new way of working, facilitate an ecosystem that is open to discuss upfront how a new development, such as, for example, a flying wing, will be used by an airline. All sorts of challenges are part of that. How do we deal with baggage? How do we fuel? How do we de-ice? Very practical questions that you need to take into account up front. And last but not least, with all the wisdom that is gathered, we can then start projects that will make the difference in aviation for the future. This idea came about, I would say, 18 months ago. And a year ago, a proposal was put forward within the Luchtvaart in Transitie proposal for the Ministry of INW. And in fact, they reacted very enthusiastically, which is great. Let's not forget that our government has many challenges going on at the moment. They need to build houses. They need to do something about energy prices. We have a world with a lot of things going on, and that they are willing to bring together that amount of money to help aviation go from state-of-the-art to more sustainable is actually a great thing. And Flying Vision is part of that proposal, and we were awarded some money to make this collaboration happen. You see a planning, and please don't go into so much into the details, but you see a couple of phases. And we are in phase 1, and phase 1 is nearly finished. Phase 1 is submitting a detailed project plan to the ministry, so they can say, all right, this is what they will spend the money on. As soon as the project plan is then approved by the ministry, we will start with the 5 partners that we have and investigate how do we organize ourselves, where do we organize ourselves, what are we actually going to do, and also think of what other partners do we need to achieve our ambitions, because with the ones you saw on the screen, I think you can also identify some other partners that would be very beneficial. And then, of course, it's growth towards these projects that we want to do. So once more, at Flying Vision, we collectively ignite radical change to achieve sustainable aviation. And if you want to be part of that or learn more about that, please come and see me during the break. Thank you very much.
Well, Victor, thank you very much. Maybe there are some questions for you.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Let's see.
It's hard to see with the lights on, so I don't see any hands. Thank you. Oh, come on, I can't be that clear. No?
Yeah. Yes, one.
That's not a question.
Maybe it's a volunteer.
Yeah.
Are you also considering partners for the Flying Vision that can be able to give you this energy? Because there's energy scarcity, so I think that is a very important part of the collaboration.
Absolutely. As we do approach the holistic approach, we cannot hope for a silver bullet that fixes all the challenges that we have. We do need to work with those who actually create the energy, be it electrical energy, be it preferably green hydrogen or something else. We need to collaborate with each other because not only is it actually creating the right amounts. Imagine how many flights leave from Schiphol every day? You should know.
A lot, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Imagine if every single flight that leaves Schiphol today needs to be fueled with hydrogen. What does that do with the infrastructure around the airport? There's some dramatic changes to be made there. So I think collaboration with a partner that creates, for example, the green hydrogen, but also that transports it or does the storage, it is very welcome to the partnership.
And we will discuss this later also. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. I think there was another question over there.
So first of all, thank you for your presentation. And on one of your slides, you mentioned that as part of Flying Vision, there are going to be certain research projects being taken for sustainability. Do you perhaps have any idea at this stage 1, what kind of research projects you're aiming for?
That's a very specific question for a very diverse topic, because there's so much that needs to be investigated. Let me give you an example. You saw a picture over there of a new type of aircraft configuration. Not so much a tube with wings, but rather a flying wing or a blended wing body. And that is great, of course, because it makes flying a bit more efficient. We have double-digit more efficient flying. But it also puts forward a cabin layout that is very different than from what we have today. So a very important question is, what do we do with, how do we deal with passengers in that new configuration? How do they sit? What do they bring on board? How do we evacuate an aircraft on time when we are sitting not at the right angle with a single path? So that's the kind of research that we want to make happen. That's the right.
Thank you.
Come on, throw. Good.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I was wondering, do you see any kind of role for students in the Flying Vision, and what kind of role?
Well, without students, Flying Vision does not exist, I think, because what I love about students, and that's why I had this example in my presentation of Aero Delft, is that they combine deep thinking with a certain pragmatic way of doing things. As in, this is what is needed, and this is how we're going to do that. Plus, students, they have this very open mind. They are not yet, what is the good English word for that? Students are not thinking in silos. They have this broad view. They are not contained such as I've been working with, like an OEM, like Airbus for 10 years. So I think Airbus and the broad way of thinking of students, and also how students can challenge what is actually happening and ask questions about why do we actually do that? Can it not be done differently? Can it not be done in an optimized way? I think that thinking is very much required if we want to accelerate making aviation much more sustainable.
Over there.
Yeah, think so. Yeah. Yeah, come on, be brave. Hop.
Yeah.
Well done.
All right, thank you. This morning in a workshop we were discussing something that I might want your view on as well. So within the whole sustainability question, it's on a global level. We want to, of course, increase sustainability throughout the whole world.
Yeah.
But in the aircraft industry, but also many other industries, there is some competition where other companies might want to keep secrets on certain research in this field.
Yeah.
Due to this big worldwide problem, how do you see this happening throughout the research that is being done for sustainability in the industry?
Well, it's not even in the, for example, Airbus Boeing comparison. You could say, all right, is there? How do we deal with sharing good ideas? I think it's already in working together with the parties that were on the screen just now. We need to discuss how we deal with intellectual property. On the other hand, I think it's the challenge of sharing can be compensated by what you learn from each other and make steps in terms of your own core business. And that is a very difficult way of saying, if you put something in there, in a collaboration, which is well managed, there's more to get out of it than you put in there. Am I saying that we also should make a bridge with Boeing and bring them in? I would love to, because but that's my point of view. My main ambition is to make aviation sustainable, because I want to have my children be able to, to backpack to Australia without having a negative impact on the planet. So I would love to collaborate with Boeing, and I do acknowledge that we need to work on what do we share in terms of IP. Yeah.
And
Important
maybe
question.
to quickly continue this as well, why not make it open source?
Well, we have people of Airbus here and Boeing here as well, so maybe you can share that question and see if we can come to a fruitful discussion over there.
All right, thank you.
Excellent, excellent.
Hello? Does this work? Oh yeah. I was just wondering, so I understand the goal of Flying Vision, but I was wondering how would you intend to sort of push the manufacturers into actually trying out the newly found fuels, for example?
I can't hear you. So how do I push who?
So how would you intend to push the current manufacturers into actually using the newly found fuels, which are supposed to be greener and things like that?
Oh, well, at the moment, the impression I have is that it's not about pushing manufacturers like Airbus to actually collaborate. It's the other way around, rather. They are very much open to collaborate, to work together, and to learn what is developed at our university, for example, but also at NLR, to be able to contribute that to their new platforms. And what we share is that if you develop a new platform, a new aircraft, for new customers, you want to hit the market, and you want to preferably hit the market before your competitors do. So time to market is important. That's why they are very open to learn what is going on and making it happen, which is also, of course, a challenge, because you develop an aircraft and you want to sell it for as long as possible to, of course, make the most of the money that you invested into the new platform. But at the moment, I only meet very open people from OEMs to work together. Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Yes, I had a question about regulations. Well, because of the immense amount of regulations big aircraft manufacturers have to comply to,
Yeah.
do you think this possibly de-accelerates the innovation that would be possible otherwise?
Does it de-accelerate? I think that the development of aircraft, I think as most of us here know, that does require a very strict quality system. We need to make sure that flying remains as safe as it is today and continues to be so.
Yeah.
And hence we need a very strict systematic of making sure that what we do, that what we put passengers in, is as safe as it was before. So I would love to turn your question around, as in, of course it will be a big task to make those who certificate open for the new ways of working, as do the new ways of working, and I think TUDelft can, they can contribute to that by saying, right, to be able to fly a new type of aircraft, they need to work according to certain standards. But I do hope that in the future, in the near future, we will be able to have discussions with those who certify, like EASA, and sit with them around the table and say, all right, how do we deal with new innovative elements or platforms in a way that we can go to market as soon as possible? So again, it's about collaboration and aligning what is important for all around the table.
Yes, thank you very much.
Let's go to the last question, because I see one more here.
Yes.
I think I got it. So yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. I really love this system that it's not only technical questions, but you also pointed out there's a lot of societal questions. Indeed. And obstacles. What would you think are the largest obstacles in the society to prevent disruptive and green thinking in aerospace? So what are the biggest obstacles in society to make aviation greener?
Good question.
You wanted to get challenged, and well, now
you are.
The
challenge is here. The challenge is here. Yeah. Let me illustrate by a story.
A short story.
A short story, yeah. Thank you. Everybody knows about Airbus's E0 program. I'm very much inspired by that program. They want to have an aircraft in the market by, I think, 2035, hydrogen powered. The range sort of within Europe, having 100, I think, passengers. That's the scope they're looking at. And I was talking to their development manager, and he explained to me. I asked him, so what is your launch customer? So who do you collaborate with as an airline to make this happen? And his answer, I think, is close to where you're aiming at. Is that, well, he said, at the moment it's a bit too early to have a specific launch customer, but for this aircraft, it's a very different situation. He says, why? We are not so much focusing on an airline that does a lot of transportation between A and B, so it's not so much who can you transport with this platform, but rather at what place on Earth is hydrogen a fuel with the right price? So it's not so much as Airbus at the early days developed aircraft specifically for Air France and Lufthansa, very much local, high volume, but they turned that question around and they are now focusing on an aircraft for a specific part of the Earth. Like Australia would be a great place to start hydrogen flights. Why? Because they have vast open spaces with high temperatures, so you can put in place measures to create green electricity and make green hydrogen. Therefore, price of hydrogen will be lower, as in it's a good market to go to. And that is, I think, a story in terms that describes what is our challenge. We need to collaborate. If we want to have enough green hydrogen at Schiphol Airport, we can't make that in the Netherlands. Where? There's not the space, not the climate. So it's international collaboration that I think is the challenge to fix.
Great, thanks.
Right?
Well, Victor, thank you very much.
Bit overtime, apologies for that.
Thank you for your inspiring story. I think you have a lot of energy to make this transition, and that's what we need. So thank you very much.
Thank you.